welcome back to Napoleon Total War with a Great War mod. We're playing as France, and we've just hit the post-war scenarios. And that means, as you can tell by the sidebar here of the different information tabs that we've gotten, that means revolution. Lots of it. Lots of communists, socialists, and so on. And also tons of nationalist movements. Currently, our path is being blocked, but I'm not interested in that. I'm more interested in the post-war campaign that begins now and ends on June 1919. What will this include? Well, it will include the dissolution of the German Empire. I've already done that. The German Revolution. That, we'll see if we can stop some of that. Dissolution of the Austro-Hungarian Empire. I've already done that. Austrian Revolution. We'll see about that. The Astor Revolution. The Hungarians. The Irish War of Independence. It would be interesting to actually support them in whatever way we can. Influenza pandemic. Third wave. Turkish War of Independence. I ended the Turks very early, but they're coming back. Then we have the Polish-Ukrainian War. Then we have the Hungarian-Romanian War. And then we have the Soviets declaring war on everyone. Polish, Estonian, Latvian. So we'll see how much of this I will be able to show. But I will show some of it, for sure. Let's go ahead and end that. So first and foremost, we've got a rebellion in Galicia. So we've got a Polish nationalist movement to add Galicia to the Polish nation. Then we have the same in Western Prussia. Another Polish army is set to take Western Prussia from me. Then we have communists in Alsace-Lorraine. Loads of them. The rest of these are all communists from that. Ally request. So, aggressor, the Hungarians, has decided to declare war on the Czechoslovak Republic. And I'm gonna side with the Czechoslovakians, because Czechoslovakia has two territories, whereas Hungary only has one. And I think that the Czechoslovakians have a more developed army, so it'll be easier to fight the Hungarians and re-establish Hungary as a vassal again. So we'll end this stupid business about the war. So we'll end, or we'll go in on the first Czechoslovak Republic on their side. Then we have another ally declaring war. It's the Hungarians. They decided to declare war all sides. What are you doing, Orban? He's declaring war on Romania. Romania has 3 territories. Of course, then I will enter the war on Romania side. It would be weird if I entered on Czechoslovakian side against the Hungarians in defense of the Czechoslovaks, and then I would enter the Hungarians against the Romanians. That would be kind of strange. So we're gonna enter on the side of the Romanians. So it's... And then, just to make sure, we have to do that twice. Right. Get rid of all of this. Repression in all regions. Fair fight. Combined during ambushes. Yeah, I ambushed an army just last end turn. Tons of Renault tanks are being produced. I am still at war with Italy when we're making our way to attack them. We recently had some battles here, so I figure I'll take just one turn. Actually, we had a rather large battle, so I'll take a few turns here trying to recoup some of the losses. Actually, I think I have better resupply in the Venetian region, but it's mainly for this army that took the brunt of the fight. There actually used to be a army or a ammunition depot here, but I broke that down to build a factory. And as you can see here, we've got an army moving north. This is one of the generals that was gifted to me by the Polish. Tons of Renault tanks. We've got some mountain guns and more tanks and heavy artillery. They are moving north because we have a before the post-war, that triggered, which is the People's States of Bavaria. So the Bavarians have risen up. You can only see regular infantry here, but if you look even closer, I don't know if this will work. Okay, so we cannot see it, but this is no. Oh, now I remember. Yes. I thought this was the one with the communists in it. That's not the case. Ah, here they are. So we've... Oh, these are not communists, actually. These are the sailors that have risen up along the coast here. Next to Mecklenburg. To... perhaps... I've no chance of building that now. There's risen up. So again, I have to leave port. So we have a lot of things going on. Meanwhile, in the east, also we're looking at winter starting soon, so that's going to be a problem here. I've posted the American army here to try and guard and see if we cannot boost the Lithuanians so they become strong enough to hold out on their own. I figure I should actually go north with the American army and try and strike in free Estonia and give another buffer zone against the Russians here. So, because Lithuania, I've recreated Lithuania like 3 times already. And something similar with Poland. Where was I sending this army? I think I was gonna send this one to aid. Since I'm not gonna fight Poland over these territories, I'm sending this army to go ahead and aid against the Hungarians. And we do have an army here in the Austrian capital that will march out to deal with the Hungarians and will end this war like that. The Romanians have a little army that they need to fight over here. I'm gonna try and delay them by bombing their force. Oh, we were successful. Lots of infantry, cavalry, and heavy artillery. Heavy old-style artillery, though. Hopefully the Romanians will be able to hold on to that. I will just go ahead and send loads of money to the Lithuanians. We'll send them 10,000. See if that helps. And then we're gonna end turn, because I have no more moves to make. And as we can see, we've got lots of problems. 1, 2, 3 revolutions. Territory being lost in Western Prussia and Lemberg, Galicia. And then obviously we still have the war with the Italians. Yes, I'm bringing in the Navy. The Navy is moving in to lift the blockade so I can bring the troops out of here. Actually, these should move in on the Italians. Make sure that we can take over the north as soon as possible. I don't know, Master Gunner, that's pretty good. We'll have them move in and take Torino again, so we can, and then all these 3 armies will move on Milan. So we claim all of northern Italy, and then we'll make an iron blockade through here while we work our way around through this, because I'm intending to restore Italy just as my vassal. Right. As I will try and show as much as possible of all these different revolutions and stuff, I think there'll be a lot of jumps. I won't be showing everything throughout this, as I normally do. But I figured we'd have a very good base of an introduction at the start here, before I go jumping around in between the different events. And we'll see how much we're able to fit in this episode. And with that said, I'll go ahead and do the first end turn, and we'll see where we end up. Major development during the end turn. We have trade agreements ended with Lithuania, Latvia, the Czech Republic, Romania, and Poland. All this because, as we'll see, the we have rebellion in Saxony now as well. The communist revolutionaries in Alsace-Lorraine has taken their province, cutting off the French capital from direct trade route to these countries, so we can no longer trade directly through there with Poland, Lithuania, Romania, and all these other countries that we lost trade with. So either we need to open this, or we need to open through northern Italy, which is what I'm intending to do anyway. So we'll see which of this comes first. We'll see if there's any army within range to strike down these communists. I was unable to raise any forces close enough, but I was able to bring 3 units of cavalry to cover this bridge anyways, so that revolution doesn't spread towards France. But I won't be able to open this up right now. We were able to move the army from Provence close to the bridge, ready to attack there. We're gathering for attack on Milan, so we hopefully will open this gap to allow trade to flow through there. Meanwhile, the Polish general has moved in, taken over Bavaria, so when these guys decide to attack, they'll face a full-on army. The army out of Berlin has moved into Saxony, so it's infantry and cavalry under the second general that was gifted by Poland. That is moving in to take there, but I have nothing to send to Mecklenburg, so that is probably going to fall to communists as well. The Polish have yet to move on these, and now, as you can see, we have winter conditions, and we will be suffering from winter conditions right now. One army up here is stationed and is not receiving that, but the American army is trudging through the snow and is on its way to liberate Estonia. And that is the situation right now, and the last thing I'll do before I'll end turn again is the fact that I have managed to get my Austrian army, or not the Austrian army, but the one that was stationed in Austria, is now ready to take out the Hungarians. So the Hungarian war was very short, as my army immediately is able to lay siege and end them. Quite... Damn, we only lost 650 men, while they lost their full force of 10,000. What was that odd flag we saw just before the end? I cannot liberate the Hungarians back into a free nation, unfortunately. So it's just... right. I'm not entirely sure what we'll do there. I was hoping I could raise them again as a vassal. The war, in fact, was over. That was the shortest war ever. It took less than a month for me to march out there and destroy them. But I guess since the trade has been cut off and my income is going to take a severe hit because of that, I guess I'm going to need the income from Budapest. Attrition. Attrition is really bad right now. We lost close to 4,000 men out of the American army. They have no food. Did Lithuania give them nothing before they marched on Estonia? 4,000 men, that's not too far off from being that is probably a third of the army, actually. Same with Petain. He's in Poland. There's no food anywhere. Well, there's been quite a few 4 years of war. So perhaps it's not that crazy that there's no food during winter. Danish aircrafts. I don't know why Denmark is the only sort of minor country that seems to be spawning aircrafts. A new nation arises. The first Hungarian Republic, but it's in Transylvania. I guess what I could do to try and re-establish Hungary is I could march all the way, destroy the Hungarians, but before I destroy them, I give them this territory back. So I'll march all the way over here, give them this territory back, then destroy them, then go back and destroy them here and try to recreate them. That's my plan. Ally requests assistance. Aggressor. Republic of Poland. Ukrainians people... Okay, so Poland declared war on Ukraine. Poland is a vassal. I'll enter on Poland's side. And so Milan has fallen. The three armies have moved in and seized Milan. And we might just be able to open up a trade gap again. And then the army out of Provence strikes here. Unfortunately, there's an army of 10,000 men right behind them. So we'll lay siege for now and hope that the AI is silly enough not to attack. The three armies do not have the reach to strike at this army just yet. Which is going to be a little bit of a problem. We do have some Italian troops moving in here. It might be easier to hold them off by the river crossing. But I should really have some infantry as well for that. And lastly, the American army finds itself in a really difficult situation. Having lost 3,800 men in the snow, they now find themselves that the only way forward is forward. And they have to cross this river. We forced this unit aside, this army aside. It retreated in front of the American army. They have to strike across, attack Estonia, and there meet basically two Russian full stacks. Luckily, Grandfather Winter is biting into the Russian infantry as well. But I don't know if they've suffered as bad as the American army has. We have another end turn. We have, this time Poland has decided to go against the first Czechoslovak Republic. I don't want to enter in any side of them, so I'm actually going to decline, even if this potentially means that I will no longer be the liege lord, as it were, of Poland. Because I've got problems enough. And as we can see, we have more revolutions. So, wait, they added on. I thought we already had revolutions here. Or maybe not. Right, we have another revolution out there. Teddy Roosevelt dies, which is more new, constant flood of news. Moldovan People's Republic. There's a lot of stuff happening in Europe right now, I'll tell you that. Attrition. The Americans only lose 2,000 men this time around. And then the Provence army loses 700 men. I think the Russians moved one full stack away, making it easy for the American army to strike. You have made it out of snow and are on the way to deal with the Saxon Soviet republics. And then the Italians had the Provence army by the balls. They had this full stack ready to strike. Instead decided to go down here to fight this lone infantry guy. Which means that now I'm able to mass these three armies from Milan. And we should be able now to open up this corridor. Ah, there was a hidden Italian army in the mountain, actually two of them. But I would say it's clearly in favor of me. If I would lose this battle, that would have been major disaster. The enemy has 15,000. I have closer to 23,000. Should be an easy victory, shouldn't it? I wouldn't perhaps say easy victory, because we lost 7,000 men in that battle. But the enemy lost 11,000. The main thing, though, is that we stand victorious. The problem is that there is a full stack of Italians just south of here. The Provence army is not in a good state to hold this. So I will instead see if I can get this one. I don't want them to stand, you know, stand on the bridge then. And then I'll take one of the larger armies and put them there. I should actually break up the Provence army and allocate the troops to the other 3 armies, because they are not actually at full strength, and it's better for the Provence army or the general in that to go somewhere else. But now with this gap open, I should be able to start trade with a load of nations again, and I desperately need to strike and take out the rebels here before the Belgians take this province from me. So if I lay this under siege, we got 2,600 rebels against 1,200 cavalrymen. That's risky business to strike there, but I want to strike them before the Belgians take it. At the same time, I need to deal with the Bavarians, which I haven't. This is actually a rather close one. So we lost 3,000, they lost 3,000. Even though I got a battle marker, it's pretty unconclusive battle. The good thing is that they are forced into the snow, and hopefully more of them will die, while I am still secure with the region capital. We'll just have to do that a few more times and strike them out. Right, so with that open, I will go ahead and set up the trade with the Easterners again. With opening up the trade with the Eastern countries again, we were able to raise our income to 18,000 per turn. Last time we checked it was 17,000. We're not actually making that much trade from the different Kingdom of Italy. Why am I still trading with Kingdom of Italy? The Hungarians, that trade is blocked. I'm actually trading with them. And then you can see it's around 800 to 900 for the different trades with the different nations there. So not a lot. Trade with Greece is blocked. That's because of the port down at Provence is blocked. When I'm seeing this and the fact that I'm making so much trade from the British Empire, I don't know if I want the Irish to be free anymore. I want to deal with as many of these communist rebels as possible, and I think we've found today's episode or battle for this episode. So I'm going to do this one first, and then we're going to do the Americans striking out and fighting the Russians up here and liberating Estonia. The thing is, after liberating Estonia, the only way out for my army is to be picked up by the Navy, because even as I release this nation, that won't stop me from dying in the snow. So I will have to go aboard ships and get out of there to not completely lose the army. And that will be difficult, and some American units may starve to death, but that's war. Right, here we are. I've got 3 units of mounted rifles, 1,200 men in total against their 2,600. My idea is to hold them in place with the general dismounted to fight here, while the other 2 units will strike from horseback on the communists, and we'll deal with them that way. Hidden units have been discovered. The cavalry needs to be moved directly into action. Could that be a similar fate for this one? That there are hidden home guard units on the flanks. We lost 80 men before the cavalry was able to make contact. But once we did, we were able to break it up fairly easily. The thing you need to do is you need to pass the cavalry through the unit.
Our general is under attack.
Right, the general is starting to fire down upon the enemy that's coming forward there. The more they concentrate, the easier it's going to be for me to charge them down. Right, we dealt with the home guard. So these guys forced away. We're behind a hill, so that's pretty well covered. And the enemy is moving down like this, and we've got another home guard over there. Right, I'm gonna start moving this cavalry unit in. This one's gonna lay in wait for a little bit longer. The generals should start firing down upon the communist revolutionaries, the militia. The difference between the militia and the home guard is that the militia has backpacks. They come slightly more prepared. Like the cavalry unit will set its sight on the enemy general, while you will set your sight on the home guard here. Actually, what it would be better is for... that would be a sandwich attack of these units striking in like that. Time to order the units to hold fire. And as this is going down, the general unit needs to come closer. Like the cavalry is about to strike. The revolutionaries, not well versed in the art of war, get taken by surprise, more or less, by my cavalry attack. And they do not hold their ground. The enemy commander was killed in the fighting. The general will order to be hold firing straight point blank into these guys, while the cavalry is slowly working their way through the rest of these. This attack failed. I'll have to call these guys back because they're getting shot to pieces there. Going through the snow, or the snow, but I guess the forest as well, really broke up that attack, which led to kind of a disastrous result for the 7th Mounted Rifles. They will set up on the hill and fire towards here, or actually towards those, yeah. Right, we broke that as well, good. Set up on the hill and start firing down upon the enemy. You are covered from this, so that's good. You should be firing on this unit. The general unit has lost tons of men. Do I dare charge though? It might be better to fire from horseback, and it certainly was, because they're being shot to pieces here by the flank fire. The flank fire, oh no, is devastating, and it's saving the general unit. The problem is going to be when we go for this one. I figured this one should dismount at this point, because staying on horseback now is going to have it crushed. Right, they broke. What we're going to do is we're going to try and get this unit into position where it can charge over the hill and come around there. The general unit needs to position itself better to shoot down these. You will sit so close that most of the fire will be coming your way, hopefully. Which is not, because this unit is now shooting at my general. You can turn up a little bit over there. So this 142. I need to strike before my general gets killed, or the commander of that unit. Okay, they're moving. Small unit will come up, shoot. They're able to open fire just before my cavalry strike. Let's try not to shoot our own men. So I will instead close in. Okay, the communist militia is running. And the cavalry will find its way through. They have bayonets, actually. We don't. I didn't actually realize that. But I think my guys fire faster. Why is the cavalry not attacking? I'm ordering in a cavalry attack. Oh, they speak Russian. Everyone knows all communists are Russian. Ah, they've rallied. We took too long to fight. And so now these guys have rallied. That's a problem. Because now I don't have as many men left. The secondary unit is very unlikely to rally. But now we have another 200 men that we need to fight down. Moving the infantry behind the hill to try and cover them from the worst. The cavalry most likely will swing this way. Right, we'll have to move into positions for this. So we'll set it up like that. And then the cavalry will come around from this angle. I ordered you to hold fire. I don't know why you still fired. They look like they're gonna use the fact that they have bayonets and we do not to the full extent, because it sounds like they're doing a bayonet charge. Cavalry needs to come up around here and the infantry needs to start firing as soon as bloody well possible. Right, we've started firing at them. Very ineffective, given that we have close to 150 men firing. Oh, I forgot to order the cavalry to move at great speed. Oh, fire from my units goes into the cavalry. Right, melee is joined. Better for everyone to just join in the melee here in the woods. And there we go. The rebellion is crushed. But this was like one of 5 or 6 forces. The good thing is that I hold the province now anyways. As a result of the battle, we deployed 1,200 men against their 2,600. We lost close to 1,000 men, leaving only 238 to hold Strasbourg. The good thing, though, is that we killed their entire force. Where mounted infantry remaining 48, so the smallest unit that was dismounted was the one that killed the most, followed by the other units. It's not that big of a difference, though, in between the units. Again, that flag turns up. But it kind of moves too quickly for me to really pay attention to what it is. We hold the region now, but it's not going well. Hopefully the Belgians might still stay in the region and help me fight them. I am recruiting more troops. Oh, we can actually get tanks from over here. So we can get tanks from Strasbourg. That would be pretty good. Right, onwards to the more consequential of battles. This one where the American forces are set to liberate. Why do you want to go all that way around? I want to strike the big force, because then we get a proper battle. But if I don't have the movement range to bloody liberate Estonia after that, I'll be so pissed. Because if I attack one of the smaller points, then you know, we'll get a trickle-in battle, and that's not going to work well at all. Look at the numbers here. These units are supposed to be close to like this, 320 or so for a unit. And they've been starved down. Some of these infantry units down to 54 men. We really don't have any food left in this army. A 10,000 men strong army has been reduced down to 4,000 just from attrition. Eventually I'll be only left with the tanks and equipment, because all the infantry is starving. And here we are on the battlefield for this rather desperate fight. What I've gone ahead and done is I've taken out all the smallest units and put them there in reserve back here. So it's units with less than 100 men. Meanwhile, looking at the enemy's deployment, they have deployed very thick in the corners up here and here. Since this is the closest one, I'm going to focus in on destroying it this way and then wrap up the army this way. We've got the gas is going to be targeting this. We've got the heavy artillery is going to target their artillery back here. The tanks are going to be rolled forward to crush this bit, and then we've got the army divided into two sections. One that will attack forward and one that will cover the flank. Machine guns on either flank of the army, so one over there and then one over here. They have deployed a unit of combat engineers right here. These guys look normal, so it's no longer those tricorn hats or anything. I've decided to deploy the two trench gunners on either side of this unit. So it's going to be firing up the flank of these on either side at the same time as the machine gun starts ripping into them. So hopefully that will destroy them really quickly. And I figure then what I'll go ahead and start with is to get these artillery units to target these cannons right off the start. And then you should target right there. Gas. It's machine guns. Actually target the enemy's machine guns. Tanks are firing from their current position, so I don't think I'm gonna move them. Good hit on the gas. We got some shrapnel coming in. The enemy unit here, I should have perhaps looked at that from the start. It was wiped out. No surprise there, I set it up so well. Okay, so all the cavalry that was stacked up there has moved away. I figure we'll keep the machine guns here. The trench gunners have done their part. We'll keep them close just in case. And then I'm gonna put 4 units of infantry on either side of the machine gun. And that's gonna cover my flank with, I figure if I can get 3 units all the way out here. Right, so as soon as that machine gun is gone, I should be able to start... Yeah, it's gone. We should be able to advance on the enemy here, and we'll focus in a bit further here on the enemy's concentration. The machine gun will be moved forward. It's now under heavy bombardment by the enemy. I'm also gonna move up the tanks. So the enemy is now, I don't know where they're moving. I'm gonna start moving up the tanks. And we're gonna start moving up the infantry in the main attack way. Actually, I will move it so that we have no one but behind the machine gun. So it's just behind the tanks as we move forward here. Gas reach has very good reach, and we need to target these major formations of infantry to break them up. Meanwhile, how's it going with destroying the artillery? That's been going really well here right at the start. They've lost multiple guns. This one is only has one left. Means that I should really take this one to aim somewhere else. Actually, we should move all targets and hit these guns and really shut down their ability to fire at us. My machine gun is moving forward. It's now actually within range of the enemy's light mortar battery, so we should be able to open up fire on that. I want to see the devastation of the gas. You can clearly see that it's been starting hitting these formations and doing tremendous damage to them. As the Russians are desperately trying to reorganize the defense. What do we have? Engineers? Streltsky? What? Streltsky? I'm almost expecting to see them with Bardishes leveling their Mosin rifles against the Bardish before taking a shot. Right, the machine gun is peppering away. I'm hoping... No, it's not... it's not even moved into position yet, because they lost a guy out of this gun. So they need to bring up a guy to get it to fire again. Alright, my tanks are concentrating here. I figure the machine guns will deal with this. I want the tanks to move more like this now, so they can move closer to attacking this part. Given that we didn't really see an attack on this side, I will... We've got Russians turning up behind us, and we've got a balloon. Very fancy balloon. We're gonna move the units up here. There's a machine gun up there, so I don't want to move too close to that. Alright, looks like the Russians are now actually more or less able to establish a line, but look at what we've done to their infantry formations. They are gone. It takes forever for this machine gun to deploy and actually do what I intended it to do, which was destroy all those mortar crews. Right, the infantry will follow up with the tanks. We've got a dragoon force moving out. What I will do is I will do a little bit, something a little bit sneaky here. So I will order the gas to fire right in among the cavalry without specifically targeting them. Being a little bit sneaky with it. Right, the mortar crew is gone. The first one should go on to fire on the next one. That machine gun, not entirely sure where it's going. It was more of a reinforcement force coming out here of flamethrower snipers and Siberian sharpshooters. But it's not much of an issue for my army, so it's dealt with. Are we starting to get some gas going in here? Yes. Killing some of the cavalry formations, making it harder for when the cavalry formations strike my line, that they won't actually be able to punch through my rather weak lines, actually. This machine gun needs to halt right away to start dealing with this. Also, I placed the machine gun right in the corner because I didn't want this machine gun to... actually, I should have something to cover that. But I wanted this machine gun to turn on this machine gun. We should be able to pepper this down fairly easily. Czechoslovak Legion, combat engineers, the rifle Streltsky. And then we're dealing with the rest of them. But even with all of this going fairly well on the front line, we still have a massive amount of forces back here as well. Loads of cavalry and shit. Broken down a large part of these guns where it is to the point where they're no longer being effective. They've lost all sort of fighting power. The machine gun, I don't know what it's focusing on, but I want it to focus up here towards the cavalry. I figure because my what's it called? My rifle formations, or infantry formations, are so weak, there's a high risk of them being attacked. So this cavalry unit's going right into my tanks, which means that we're going to have one unit there that's going to be broken up. This is not good. That unit is now stuck there. But overall, the Russian infantry attack got absolutely destroyed. Machine gunner destroyed all of that. Whatever the reinforcement was, it's now gone, and these units should move away to not be the target of that enemy machine gun.
We have killed their general.
Oh, there goes the enemy general.
They must
From
break.
his forward position there, probably sprayed by machine gun fire. I think it's time to try and get these cavalry formations to move in on us by specifically targeting the cannons, prompting the cavalry to move forward into an attack. Oh, we've got another dismount. Oh, we got loads. All tanks. All the tanks got dismounted. Not great. But at this point I don't really need them to move forward. They just need to sit in place and shoot. Because most of the enemy units... You are not fired will, are you? I don't want you to shoot up though. Oh, the machine gun should probably move so it doesn't fire. Although it does fire in kind of in an arc. It arcs the bullets in a way. But I still figured that the enemy coming this close to where the shot's actually landing, we could easily just shoot down lots of my own men. Right, and the cavalry formations are broken up. The battle is won, and I would say surprisingly, I did not lose as much men as I thought I might do. But the thing is not over yet. I still have to liberate Estonia and then march to the coast to be rescued by the Navy. And I don't know if the Russian Navy might turn up and take us out. So who knows what's gonna happen. Right, back on the tanks. Ooh, this tank actually only has 2 crew left. We've lost a tank, unfortunately. Right, guess we'll end it by this, and then the heavy artillery We'll focus in on this. And then you will be ordered to make your way out there to kill that. And now this one's forced forward. The gas dealt with that. We'll turn the gas on the 13 Dragoons. What's this? More enemy reinforcements. Cossacks. Shouldn't be anything major. A major problem. I figure at this point the battle is really over. And oh, here they are again. I wonder where they come from. It could be something to do with the revolution, perhaps? Revolutionary events or something? Who knows? Anyways, I will now declare this battle a victory. And here's the result of the battle. Surprised at how low losses I had. 800 men killed in the battle. We had a Russian army of 10,000 men against 4,369 of the combined forces, although the army is mostly American. And we are left with 3,565. 1,800 Russians made it away at the very last bit. About 2,000 Russians came in. But once the heavy equipment was destroyed, they all scattered and fled for the hills. If there are any hills in Estonia, I don't know. I'm sure there are. Most of the kills goes to the gas, no surprise there. But machine guns and the tanks did a lot of work there as well. And then the first infantry unit that turns up is 1st Army Division. 144 men deployed. 30 men lost, 200 enemies killed. And I do not, in fact, have enough movement points to make it to... actually, I do, but only for the infantry, so I would have to leave the cannons. Which is no problem, because the cannons can handle the snow. Right. We have our force of about, what, 3,400 or so against the enemy force. Is clearly an auto-assault. We lost 222, and we crushed Russian forces. Now, what I should do here is perhaps military occupying, so I could get the resupply, but I think that that's actually worse because of the armies that are around here. We will not be able to continue to fight all these forces, especially in the snow. So what I will liberate the area, and the Russians have to leave the region, and that will save me. We gain some French troops that will join. I now note that we have lost one unit at least. Oh yeah, that one tank unit. I figure the best unit to put in is the infantry battalion. The snipers have to fend for themselves. The army will move to the coast, and we'll try and pick them up there. I do note though we have a rather sizable Russian fleet here, actually larger than my force. So moving into this area would actually be rather dangerous. So the safer option would be to try and get the army to Latvia and then pick up the force there, which would mean that I wouldn't move next turn, but instead sit there and wait for the enemy to not the enemy, my forces to arrive. Right, wonderful. This is done. We've made 2 battles then in this episode, but perhaps you are as curious as I am if the American army will survive and get out of here. So, let's go ahead and end turn. I shouldn't have said anything. As I've said before a few times, as soon as I mention something, the AI seem to respond to it. Our navy is actually weaker than the Russian force, and I'm not sure enough that I'm clever enough to fight a good naval battle, but I guess I have to, because otherwise the American army is screwed, unless perhaps winter is or spring is just around the corner, but I very much doubt it. We'll have to have a naval battle then. It's an utter disaster at sea, but also the most, probably the most chaotic naval battle I've had. Basically every ship lost you see here, which is about 14, exploded into 1,000,000 pieces. I had the ships kind of ran into each other in a big lump in the middle, and then one exploded, and then they started exploding one after another. And I probably had like 10 explosions in this battle. Started with a random one off to the side of the battle of one of the smaller ships, but then all the big capital ones kind of collided into each other in a big mess in the center, and then just one by one they started exploding. Apparently we managed to get one ship out of there, but that's sunk. So the entire fleet was sunk. We managed to sink half the Russian forces. The thing is, though, a lot of these were, at the end of the battle, a lot of these ships that the Russians have remaining were in fact forced to surrender or capitulate. At the very end, I think there was about 5 operational French Russian ships, and a lot of those were very heavily broken down. It was an absolute slugfest. As I said, everything kind of exploded. But unfortunately, my rescue plan for the American army is now gone. And the best case for the American army is that we have a very mild winter at this point, because it's gonna be tough. The Admiral is dead, but the interesting thing is that I actually got one of the ships did survive. The problem is my last Baltic Sea port is... why can I not repair my ship? Oh, there we go. As you can see, Pomerania has been overrun by communist rebels as well. Lots of troops being recruited and nation destroyed. First Hungarian Republic. Okay, so the Romanians took them out. Attrition 1,000 for the American army, 13 for the snipers. Great molasses flood. Alsace-Lorraine was lost as the communists brought in one by one the stacks until I could no longer defend it. We have another set of units coming up, and I've got even more of these mounted infantry being brought in from Paris. But at this point, this video is gonna be so long as it is, I better just end it right here, and we'll see where we can pick up for if there's a next one. The Americans, unfortunately, are not gonna be picked up by the Navy. They're gonna have to struggle back through the snow and head for the area right here, which is gonna take them another 2 turns. And by that time, we just hope that we have troops left in the army and they haven't all just starved on the march there. I'm going to disband this one. Right, so that is some of what you might expect from the post-war World War I world, as nationalist movements break away everywhere, and we have socialists striking out for their rights. And on that note, I will say as I always say, hopefully you guys enjoy this, and hopefully I'll see you guys for the next one. Bye.